Hello and welcome to the Gallant Few Rangers podcast. My name is Mason Stewart and I'll be your host for our Premier League show. Sorry, listeners, it's been a minute, but it's probably not been the best month to talk about Premier League action anyway, with all the cup games and not full fixtures. But we're back and we're ready to discuss this weekend's fixtures and all the transfer news. With me to talk all things Premier League, starting with Jamie. How are you, Jamie?
I'm good, Mason. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, listeners. It's good to be back on the pod. Bit of COVID over the holidays, but plenty of football managed to get watching. But this last 2 weeks has felt like an international break. I'm not going to lie. So I'm glad to get back into it.
It's been dragging, isn't it? Typical January. And we've also got Johnny. How's things, Johnny?
Hi, mate. I'm good. It's great to be back. Feels like it's been the longest game week in history. I think it was spread over, 2 weeks?
Yeah, as in the fantasy football, I think I got about 60, about nearly 60 points the first week, and I thought, no one's catching me here. And then all of a sudden, everyone started to overtake me. So it's been a long game week. But Jamie, let's get right into it. Let's start with the early game then on Saturday. Arsenal smashed Palace 5-0. There's two completely different stories here. But Arsenal getting back to winning ways. Something that we can't really say about Arsenal of late is being clinical, and that's what they were Saturday.
Yeah, if I'm honest, I kind of fancied Palace to keep it to a low-scoring game. I didn't have Palace to win the game at all, just purely for the fact of Arsenal's home form. But shall we say the lack of creativity has been called out over the winter period, and I didn't think that was going to change much. Little do I know when they run out 5-0 winners, even if they did score a couple in the last few minutes. But it was good to see Martinelli back on the scoreboard. He looks as though he's been out for a long time, not been involved in games. But obviously the plaudits will go for the defence with Gabriel getting in on the action as well. He did it against Liverpool a couple of weeks ago where he got the early goal and did exactly the same. And it was a really good win for Arsenal. I think they needed it really, but on the opposite side of it, it was a big loss for Roy Hodgson.
Johnny, just to touch on the other side, then, as Jamie said, there's been a lot of talk in the last couple of weeks. To be fair, about Roy Hodgson, they're a team that's, I think, quite easily going to be fighting relegation. You normally say with the quality they've got, they seem to always pull themselves out, but it does have a little bit of a different feel at the minute. They looked really, really poor on Saturday.
I mean, they pretty much just chased red shadows for the entire game. It was kind of, we haven't seen that for Arsenal. We spoke about before in the pod a lot this season that they are getting results, but they've never really been blowing teams away like they did last year at the start. Whereas they done that at the weekend, they were ruthless. But I think Palace definitely helped them. I always feel sorry for Roy Hodgson. It feels like it's somebody's granddad. Somebody just get him and take him to the pub for a pint. So I don't like giving him a hard time. I think it was a big ask giving him the job. I mean, the Premier League has to be one of the most stressful out there. It can't be easy to manage that, especially when there's such a gap between him and especially your youth players, your younger players. I mean, that's a huge gap to try and keep up with how these players run, how they think. It's a totally different game. So I hope they come to some agreement with him rather than give him the elbow, just some kind of, whether it's one of the old mutual agreements or something. But I think, they're going to have to make a change. They are kind of flirting with relegation. I don't think they're in a risk of going down. Not quite yet, just because there are teams worse down there that would probably save their arse, that would, on another season, they would probably be in that bottom three. But, I mean, I would kind of agree with that. I think they are kind of in trouble. I was a wee bit surprised with that game. I don't know what you boys think, but see the Gabriel, the first goal. I was delighted. I've got Gabriel in FPL, so I was buzzing. But I was surprised that they gave that goal. Do you not think there was a lot of climbing involved for that goal?
Yeah, but I mean, when was the last time you seen a goal taken away for climbing? Like there's so much talk right now about VAR when it comes to goalkeeper protection. shall we say, tackling it, not looking at the ball. It's I just don't see it not given, if that makes sense. I just don't see it. It'd take a brave ref to go against it, I think.
But I think you see that every other week where it is given as a foul. I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not. Listen, I'm not claiming that it's nailed on, and I think it was. I'm not saying that. I just feel like we do see that a lot, and he does climb. The arm comes right over, and there's no way the lad can leap with him. I think it was Richards. He wasn't getting off the ground because Gabriel was right over the top of him with his arms as well. It just surprised me a wee bit. I thought they might have hooked it.
It reminded me of the goal. Remember the Newcastle one where was it Gabriel was climbing and he got adjudged to have had a wee push in the back. I think it looked carbon copy of it, didn't it?
I know you're saying, Johnny, to be fair, but for me, I think Dean Henderson for both the first goals. I think he's so overrated. By the way, I think is Sam Johnson injured because for me, I wouldn't be playing this.
Sam Johnson started at number 1, and then he got injured. Dean Henderson came in, and I think it was his position to lose. I think Hodgson. I remember watching an interview with Henderson. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and he said that Hodgson obviously brought him in and said that he was his number 1, but Sam Johnson was always his number 1. It's kind of like the same issue with Arsenal. Different level of quality of goalkeepers, but they've got 2 number 1s. So there was going to be some sort of rotation, and I think be surprised if you see Henderson this weekend or next round, should I say?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a weird signing. Listen, I understand you got to have two good goalkeepers, but I thought you could leave Johnson as a number 1 and then spend that money. I think they needed one of the forward players, to be honest. They're a little bit like there.
I think Palace have always had 2 good goalkeepers, weren't they? You go back to, was it Guaita? Guaita, I thought, was a brilliant keeper, but they always had Sam Johnson on the books as well. So they've always kind of diced with the double goalkeeper thing, haven't they?
Yeah, Butland as well.
Butland, yeah. But I think Roy's, go back to Johnny's point, I think ever since Roy came out and criticised the kids in that game, at the start of the season, I'm not going to say he's, everybody's against him, but you can't think he's lost that dressing room massively. Not that they're not playing for him, but just the writing's on the wall. He's away at the end of the season. It's like a slowing death now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Johnny, just to finish off that game, Arsenal obviously. A lot of criticism, of their performances of late and results, but that's a big win. Could be, obviously Martinelli, who's been really poor this season, to get 2 goals at the end as well. That would be big for his confidence. I know we are going to touch transfers a little bit later on, but just whilst we're on Arsenal, I think I would nail this that they need to bring in a striker, even if it's on loan. If they're really serious about winning a title, I think it's a must.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I've said that a few times on the pod. That it's bugged me for a few seasons that they just never seem to replace bringing an actual potent number 9. I think the last one I can remember was Thierry Henry. Dennis Bergkamp, that kind of season, the invincible season where they had a striker that was getting 20, 30 plus goals a season. They don't have that. Yes, they spread the goals. They brought in Jesus, but he's not a striker for me. And I wouldn't even say he's a poacher. I'd put him as he's more like a number 10. His play style in the way he is, he'll maybe get you so many a season, yes, but for a title challenge, I think you need that number 9. And they don't have that. Yes, they blew Palace away at the weekend. Partly they were good, taking nothing away from them, but that's been quite rare this season for them to be like that. So they're not going to be like that every week, and that's where you're looking for that number 9 that can win a game from nothing, and I don't think they have that. So yeah, I would agree with it. I think it was improved. Some of the players had a good game. You've seen Trossard, there was flashes there of what he's capable of. We haven't seen it enough, nowhere near enough, but he does have that in his locker. It's just consistency the boy lacks. And like you say, Martinelli had 2 goals. I felt bad for the lad that came on as Amada. They switched him out and put Martinelli went up against him. He decimated that poor lad. Both his goals, the lad was posted missing. So I think that helped as well. But yeah, sorry to just stamp your point, mate. 100%. I think they do need a striker.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all agree on that one. But Jamie, just moving on then to the next game, which is the late game on Saturday night. the story around this. I'm interested to get your thoughts on both of this. Is obviously the return of Ivan Toney. Well, I think we all knew he was going to score. I think it was just written on it. I don't know what the odds were, but I bet you weren't getting a lot.
They were
back.
very, very low. Johnnie will tell you it was the one bit he didn't back on mine, and it came in. Do you know what? I was expecting a bit of a barnstormer because Brentford have been so poor recently, and Nottingham Forest have actually been scoring goals. But Forest have got a lack of players at the moment, and what I mean is like the main players like Morgan Gibbs-White out, Alanga out, Sangara out, arguably some of the better players. But they've been scoring goals. Chris Wood's he's decided to play for all of a sudden. So I kind of felt that Saturday night was going to be a gudgeon. And it didn't disappoint, to be fair. I thought Brentford were worthy of the win. It was obvious how crucial Ivan Toney was for them, especially with no Bueno and no Visa. You know, he was great in the first half, but you didn't really see much in the second half. But that was always going to come with how long he's been out and trying to manage his minutes. If anything, it just added another 10 million to the price if you wanted him this window, isn't it? Really, that's probably what's scaring Arsenal off at the moment, is that it is going to cost upwards of 100 million if they want him right now. But there was something ironic about it as well, that he's just served an 8-month ban. He dons the top with a betting company on as the main sponsor, plays for a guy who owns a club that owns a betting company, and you just think, it gets the teeth a little bit, doesn't it? Now, I'm not going to begrudge anybody having an ACCA, but it's a bit not two-faced, but it's like you're banning people when you're playing for a heavily invested betting company, shall we say? It just doesn't sit right for me.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Johnny, obviously the main talking point from this game was Toney's goal. Where obviously I'm sure everyone's seen it, where he moves the referee's phone, and I think, listen, it happens. I think everyone. To be fair, I've not seen anyone move the phone, but they all move the ball. I think I'm not a fan of the Forest keeper Turner at all. Another goalkeeper that I wouldn't want. I think he's got to be looked at for the goal here. And I don't agree with Nuno's assessment after the game, where he was complaining about Toney's goal. I think he's got to be talking to his goalkeeper and his defenders about that more. But what was your thoughts around that? And obviously, it's grabbed the headlines this week.
Yeah. To quote a famous man. I'm not quite sure who, might have been my dad, but what a load of shite. I mean, he doesn't even move. He literally moves it a tiny wee bit to the side. So it's not like he's taking any space. Ask Nuno how many of his players stole 5-10 yards for every throw they took during that game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolute garbage. And like you say, my first thing, even when you seen it, I didn't even notice it. It wasn't until the replays after. But the strike itself in the wall was embarrassing. The wall actually jumps the complete opposite side out the way. And for some reason, as he goes to take it, the wall completely narrowed. It went
Hudson
for a thread. Even more, yeah, it just kind of enclosed, so they were all huddled together. It was like they actually made Toney's mind up for him. So yeah, I would agree with you, mate. I think the problem has got nothing to do with that ball shifting whatsoever. It was to do with the wall, and like you say, that's where your goalkeeper should be absolutely hammering them, because he has to see that. He's the one with the view. So yeah, much ado about nothing, mate. I enjoyed the game, by the way. It was a cracking game.
It was, and yeah, sorry, I started with Toney coming back and then Toney goal, but Jamie, just to finish off, then obviously Forest, it was a good game. Danilo with an absolute stormer of a finish as well. Chris Wood gets one. It was end to end. It was something that you want from a Saturday night football, but obviously Brentford have been struggling. Now they've got Toney back. I think that's a big boost, the big 3 points for them. Forest are not out of it yet, though.
No, Brentford's sitting on 22 points right now, so that puts them, I think, the 6 points above the relegation zone. there's absolutely no way, if you think that Ivan Toney stays there, he doesn't get them another 12, 15 points. So I have no worries about them at all, especially when you think of some of the AFCON players that they'll get back. I think Bueno will be up for a bit longer, but Visa as a partnership up front, you can only see them just getting better. That's why I think it'll be, it's a ridiculous price tag, but that's what it's going to take to get prize him out of Brentford in this window. So I think it'll be fine for them. Forest have got a bit of a weird one because if you go back a couple of months ago, they were sitting pretty decent. They were. I think the manager before he got the bullet was doing well, and then obviously they went on that slide, didn't they? They changed to Nuno, and I think he started picking up points. What he has done is he started playing his own version of players. So the boy is at the right back, Montiel, scored the winning penalty in the World Cup final. I'm not his biggest fan. He's a walking yellow card, but he's got something about him. Do you know what I mean? And he's been playing. We've been playing him compared to he wasn't getting played before. I think Nuno probably needs a window to get his players in, and if you go by some of the transfer rumours, the potential of looking at some probably creative deals going in there. But I think that harps back to the financial fair play that probably might come onto later on. They've got to catch themselves in a bit of a tricky one. I don't think they're going to be dropping any money. It's going to be loan deals. But as you said, the couple of players that we've seen that they've been linked with, you can't really turn down and probably would improve them. I'm personally not that worried about Forest. I think Palace are probably more in danger of dropping into that, just because of the situation we said. I think Everton are down there. I think Palace drop into there. I think Forest pick up points. I really do. They just need to get the players back. And as I said, like Gibbs White, Alanga, we've seen already that's goals for them. And that's before you start talking about the main striker of Johnnie when he's due back at some point. So I think Forest will be okay.
He was a big loss for them.
Massive loss.
I think you're right. I think Nuno has some really good links on the continent. Back home, I think he had a good eye for that when he was at Wolves. I think there's every chance he could do that again.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one with Nuno. I'm not. I don't know. Do you know what? He's done really well, Wolves. Actually, if you look back at that and look at the job he's done, even the players he signed. Tottenham, he was a disaster, but a lot of managers have been. So yeah, maybe Forest suits him a little bit more. I'd be interested to see
his record's honking, mate. I actually looked over it and done a wee bit of digging for it. I think it was a previous pod when he came in, and it's bad. Other than the Wolves where he did do well, other than that, he's pretty much had the bullet everywhere he's been.
Well, go into there and digging out two of the best players in Benzema and Jota wasn't the best start for him, was it? But yeah, I'm quite interested to see how he does there. But Johnny, another really good game of football on Sunday. Had a little bit of everything. It was a 2-2 Desmond between Sheffield United and West Ham. What was your thoughts on this game? There's a lot to pick in, and there's a couple of points that I'll ask both of you. But what was your thoughts on the game as a whole?
I thought it was quite evenly balanced. It was a feisty game. It's like one of those games that pretty much had everything. It covered pretty much every talking point. So I'm going to try and avoid the main points because that's probably going to be your questions. I didn't want to bust them. But listen, I enjoyed the game. I'll put my cards on the table. I was dying on Sunday. I was in a bad way. Far too much on Saturday night, so I had to re-watch the game today. I tried to watch it Sunday, but I may as well have been looking at it through binoculars. But yeah, even watching, I watched the extended highlights and I actually enjoyed them. But yeah, for what I've seen, I thought 2-2 was probably about right. Granted, came about probably not the fairest way, would be a way to say it, a horrible way to drop 2 points towards the back end of it. But yeah, I mean, I think Sheffield will probably be happy with the point in West Ham. But yeah, I'm trying my hardest to not step on a landmine, mate. Going to ask a question.
Let's start with you then. I actually thought, I agree. I don't think there was a lot in it. I think Sheffield United probably just shaded it. I thought they definitely didn't deserve to lose. All right, Jamie, first one there. I think the two big talking points. But we'll start with obviously West Ham. It take the lead twice and then a late penalty from McBurney. But I want to ask you both about the first sending off from Brewster. Any complaints at all with this one, and what has happened to this kid?
I'll say yes, red card. I don't think I can have any complaints about it. 2, Brewster was brilliant for the Liverpool unders. Like, as a youngster, he was breaking records in the unders, and they had this big career planned out. I was shocked when he went to Sheffield United, but the fact they paid 25 million for him, then I can't really say anything. But he's just dropped off the face of the planet. And I don't know whether it's the fact he plays alongside Ollie McBurney that has probably dropped his standards a little bit. But he wasn't even getting a game at the beginning of the season. I think it was the lad Archer, wasn't it, that came in and kind of stole the show. So I think he's, he reminds me of Jordan Ibe. Remember the youngster that came through at Liverpool and kind of he was in and out, but then moved on to, I think it was Bournemouth, and then just dropped off the end of the earth. It's just, yeah, he's obviously not going to get to the heights that was expected of him. But he's had a couple of red cards, if I'm not mistaken. Now, petulance, overzealous. I don't think he can have many complaints with it, to be fair.
Johnny, just on that, I think we've said it before. A good spell in the Premier League can make you a millionaire for life, and I think that's with Brewster. To think, Sheffield United spent the best guts of 45 million on Ollie McBurney, and Brewster is, I tell you what, that is incredible, really. But yeah, just on that, you agree there with Jamie's assessment on the red card?
Yes. Yeah, it was a stinker, bad challenge. It looked like he meant to hurt him. So yeah, he had to go, mate. It was a nailed-on red card. He could have got 2 red cards for it, to be honest. I would agree with everything you've said. I mean, it was one of those head scratchers, the transfer itself. The fee was ridiculous, so yeah, Liverpool had to take it. But I mean, did he have a good spell in the Premier League? Like you said, he'd done well in the youth, maybe showed some signs, but I didn't think there was much more than that. I think they were trying to buy them, what they were trying to see the future with that transfer. But yeah, why that's happened or where he is, I don't know, mate. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know the lad. I don't know what he's like. But it did not look good, and we haven't seen much of him. And they're bringing in some extra bodies, so especially, I mean, that's a chance. He's been thrown in as a chance. Go and steal your position, and yeah, he definitely didn't do that.
No, that's the worst way to go about it. But Jamie, a couple of points. So I'll go to both of them because you can cover both at once. So Sheffield United get a penalty, last kick of the ball. Do you think that was a penalty? There's been a lot of talk about that, and then obviously what follows that 2 minutes later, where Bowens looks like he's pulled down and it goes the other way, and it didn't even get looked at. What was your thoughts on them crazy few minutes?
I'll try and be as platonic as possible, but with the first one, I think Sheffield United would due some luck. Like, they've had a couple of stinkers this season that have not went their way, rightly or wrongly. They would due one that went their way, so I'm not going to begrudge them that decision. I'm really not. I would hate it to be given against us, but I can understand why they were given. The second one, I think Bowen instigates it. I really do. Bowen's not looking. Bowen he's running towards the defender. The defender's naturally going to have his arms out to kind of measure his distance. Bowen then kind of does that. He doesn't jump. He kind of just lifts his feet off the floor. It makes it look as though he's been impeding. And I think so the thing is, see if that's given anywhere else on the pitch. I can't tell you who it goes to because the ref, it's his decision. The fact it's in the penalty box, I don't think should sway that. And he's obviously made a judgment on it. I don't think VAR needs to get involved in that because he doesn't miss a clear and obvious. I can't believe I'm sticking up for VAR. The definition is it's a clear and obvious area. Now, if they've said to him, what will probably come out of the the Howard show is that the ref probably says, no, it was the two of them. And VAR go, well, it's his decision. He's seen it, he's made a decision on it, so we won't get involved. If he gives a decision and he gives it to, for example, Sheffield United, and they go, no, Sheffield United instigated that and pulled Bowen down, then you can understand why it was given. I'm not convinced the ref didn't see it and was an obvious error. So again, I'm kind of going to side with Sheffield United on this because they were due some luck. And I think they're at the stage now where they'll pinch, rob, steal any kind of point they can get, and I can't blame them for it.
Yeah, no, fair point. I think they are due a bit. You are right to point out that a few go against them. But Johnny, what did you make? Do you agree there with Jamie's assessment?
I'm quite glad he said it, mate, because I looked into it a fair bit as well. And I thought it would probably be the unpopular opinion, but Jamie spat it first. I thought that what they showed you, especially in the highlights, they gave you one view and one angle, and they cut like 3 seconds of that move off. It starts with Bowen. He runs in to the lad, and he puts his hands out. So his hands are on his arm, the defender's arms. The defender obviously backtracks, and he's got his hands out and ends up pulling him back with him, if that makes sense. So he kind of instigates the actual play, and as they both go down, the ball clatters his hand. I mean, we're supposed to go with clear and obvious. I don't think there was a clear and obvious error there at all. I think if they did get it, they would have been incredibly lucky.
No, fair point. I think you both have really good points there. Where
I'd just point out as well that West Ham to score 2 goals with the amount of players they've got missing right now, where was probably bigger than what they're actually giving themselves credit for. They've lost some big players at the moment. I mean, Kudos is over in the AFCON. Paqueta's missing for about 3 months. I don't think the boy Alvarez played, did he? They've lost the central defenders at Agod. He's over playing for Morocco. They've got a long list of players, and there was talk about whether Bowen was even going to be able to play.
He looked fit, to be fair.
Yeah. So I was more surprised that actually West Ham scored 2 goals as a positive to take away from the game.
Don't tell the West Ham fans that, mate. They were having a meltdown.
Yeah.
It was actually chanting wanting Moyes out again.
That was because Moyes instigated that revolt, didn't he? Moyes was giving it, he went into full Nuno Espirito, didn't he, about what's the reason for VAR and all that kind of stuff.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, there's more. I want to touch on West Ham a little bit later, but I'm more with Johnny. I'm thinking, they're having meltdowns for no reason at the minute. Let's put it that way. But Jamie, we'll come to the late game then Sunday. Liverpool comfortable against Bournemouth, 4-0 winners. Nunes with 2 and Jota with 2. I thought the first half was pretty poor. To be honest, again, I thought Liverpool looked pretty comfortable, but goal early in the second half, and then it was cruise control after that. But you must be delighted with to go away from home and score 4 goals.
Yeah, and I was talking to Johnny about this last night, and we were having a joke about it. 4-0 actually doesn't tell the story of the game. As you said, Mason, the first half was pretty grim. But you could probably say that about a lot of Liverpool's away games this season. You go back to Palace before Christmas. We had to go a goal down before we turned that one round. We went behind against Luton. We went behind against Wolves. It's been the story of our season. The second half is where we obviously turned up, and there's that stat kicking about how many goals we've scored after the 75th minute. It's like talking about an extra 10 goals compared to most teams, which is kind of unheard of. I think the plaudits quite rightly will go to people like Jota and Nunes. People will say Nunes, his numbers right now are absolutely ridiculous. He's got 10 goals in all competitions and 10 assists. He's the first person in the top 5 leagues to register double digits on both sets of stats. That's not bad for a guy that potentially actually isn't even the first starter when it comes to the front line. I'm absolutely loving it, and I can see Johnny's literally giggling. He's got his hand over cover of his mouth because he loves a good Nunes run. But the fact that we don't have Salah right now and we're still scoring this many goals, I'm brimming Cheshire Cat, and I'll say 2 points. One, I love the fact that people still don't think Liverpool are in this. Everybody's still talking about City. And quite right, you go back to last year, we weren't giving Arsenal a shot at this. Do you know what I mean? And we were proven right. However, if there is one team that can do it to City, I fully believe it's Liverpool, just the way that they're playing. So I definitely think it's a two-tier race, and I think with the goals that we're putting in, I'm absolutely buzzing for this season. The second point I would say is the bit that's probably gone unnoticed. It's actually Klopp. Klopp's been making changes in these second offs that's turning the games for us. Little tweaks with players, and he did the same again at the weekend. He brought Gakpo on. He took Diaz off, brought Gakpo on, and Gakpo was the link-up man who started all the started. He's done that so many times this season, Klopp has, and I think Klopp calls this Liverpool 2.0. I think he's right up there with it. I wouldn't be surprised if Klopp signs a new contract because he's loving life at the moment. Just the same as every Liverpool fan. 4-0 away to Bournemouth, buzzing with it. I really am. And the fixture list is going to be fun for the next couple of weeks. We've got Chelsea and Arsenal back to back coming up, sandwiched in between cup games and stuff. So a big month. I did say I think I said before the podcast, before Christmas, the key time was going to be when Salah comes back from the AFCON. Where's our position going to be? Are we still going to be in the top two? So far, so good, and I'm going to stick with that because it's good viewing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jamie, to be honest. I've said it since day one as well, to be fair. I think Liverpool have got a right good chance of winning this title. We were going to save the title, but once we're on the subject, Johnny, I think, to be honest, to go back to the sort of game, I think Jamie summed it up quite well. Not too much to say about Bournemouth. I thought they were poor, lacked quality big time. But, the quality of Liverpool, I think, overshone. But what's your thoughts on the title race? If you had to put your money on a team now, Johnny, who would it be?
No. Wait, one second. Let's back this up to Darwin. Can't you let him do that? I mean, jump it. 10 goals, 10 assists, 10 pensioners, 2 cameramen, 14 ball boys. No, I'm like kidding.
His XG's like 0.39 or something. It's ridiculous.
No, he's doing well. He's doing well. Listen, I've always said, all banter aside, I actually like the kid. I think there's a player in there. Once he gets settled, I think he could be dynamite. I still believe that, but I still enjoy winding him up. So, question. Do I think Liverpool in the title race, or who do I see in the title race?
Who do you see in the title race, and who do you see toppling on the mid right now?
I think the way it is just now with Liverpool, I think they will be delighted to be going under the radar. Like Jamie just said there, Man City, they're still talking about them, they're still talking about Arsenal. They ain't mentioning Liverpool much, and I think that suits them perfectly. They can just go about their business quietly. So, I mean, it's not going to be like that forever. Can they stick the season? Right now, I don't see why not. I do think Liverpool are a team that rely on certain key personnel. I know they do have cover, which they do, but if they get a couple of bad injuries, I think it could change things.
They have a couple of bad injuries.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm 9 players out at the moment.
I mean, I'm talking long term. So, for example, let's just say you lost Salah and anybody you want, any key player. I think that would cause a huge risk.
I think Trent's been brilliant this season.
I'm not trying to jinx you guys. I will touch wood for you, but I mean, you could say that about other teams as well. One of the things, like with City, I don't think you do say that. I think that's still probably the one edge I would give them. I think Arsenal toil if they lose a couple of players. I still don't think they have the depth. So I think that would be the difference. But as it is right now, mate, yeah, why not? Absolutely, why not? I think City have still got that gear to jump. They do it every time once we get to March, maybe April. They jump a level. They've done it every year for God knows how long. I don't see why it's going to be any different this year. But as long as Liverpool keep doing what they're doing, then it wouldn't really be a factor. They still have the ground to make up. It's not a huge gap, but we've seen it with Arsenal. We've seen that huge lead, and we've seen how fast it can change. It is a long season, mate. I would still tip City, just purely because of who they are and what they've done. But I give full credit to Liverpool. I think they've been really good to watch. Granted, mostly second half. Wee bit slow starting. That's been a frequent thing, but they seem to be setting it right.
I think one of the key things for me is that, as Johnny just said, we've got a few players out. You've got Robertson due back. You've got Salah's out for a few weeks now. Trent's due back. We need our players to come back and hit the floor running to get and keep us that momentum. I think what City do have is that they can afford to play De Bruyne for 20 minutes for the next 3 weeks, and he probably still puts in the same shift or the same output, if you like. Haaland has, he's only just started training again. They've got that much quality, they can spread their love a little bit, and afford to maybe only play them half a game or something. So it's definitely against Liverpool. Let's be honest. City are still the outliers. They have to be. I'm looking forward though to getting some of the key players. If you go back to December, I think arguably some of our best players were Trent Alexander-Arnold. I thought Wataru Endo come into his game, played brilliant in the centre of the park. The young lad Kwanzaa was brilliant at centre back. 3 players that are not playing now, and we're still in the position that we're in. So I'm just happy with the squad depth that we've got. We've got Szoboszlai still to come back as well. I think McAllister's gone under the radar. He's been found out a couple of times in games, but again, against Bournemouth, I thought he was brilliant. And people like Curtis Jones, I know John's got a bit of a hard-on for people like Curtis Jones. He's getting his time in the game and in the team and doing well. So for me, I hope it continues.
Yeah, that's one. I think I've got to agree. I think City got the edge, but don't write off Liverpool. Johnny, just very quickly then, both of you, the game, Monday Night Football, not really a lot to talk about. Yeah, exactly. That sums it up really nice. Brighton 0, Wolves 0. I think Brighton, I think they're doing okay. I think you ask any Brighton fan, they're probably happy with their position, but they're missing something that they had last season. And I think it would definitely feel like 2 points drop for them and a point gain for Wolves. Johnny.
Sorry, yeah, I watched the game. I actually sat and chatted with Jamie last night. We sat and watched the game. It's one that I do a fair wee bit of research for each pod, and that's one of the games where you had to do absolutely none, and you could talk as if you'd seen the game because absolutely nothing happened. Two teams who got forward, got into good positions. I thought Wolves got into much better positions than Brighton did, but just nothing. Once they got into the position, it was either a bad ball or a bad choice, and that seemed to be pretty much repeated for 90 minutes. I would
that
say
Pedro chance summed it up, didn't it?
Yeah,
that was 87 minutes.
He was getting into those positions a few times, Jamie. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 where he pretty much broke through, but the head was down and never really. Always made the bad choice, the wrong choice. Sorry, but I would agree with Brighton, mate. They haven't hit the heights. I think maybe found out a little bit it is a much heavier load when you're playing on all these extra fronts. But not, you know what I mean. All these extra games of European football and that. They do have a very young squad. They have had injuries as well. When you add all that together, I just don't think they're built to cope with that. It doesn't mean they can't. I think it's a learning curve for them. But I mean, they're not a million miles away. It's not like we're talking about they're fighting in the bottom half and struggling. I think it's a club that will continue to improve to rectify. So I'm not really afraid for them. I think they'll be fine. But yeah, they have been off a bit lackluster.
Yeah. Jamie, anything to add from that?
No, I think Brighton's probably just a bit of a reality check for them. They did so well last year. I mean, they're still sitting 7th. You know what I mean? They're not exactly having a bad season. They're missing some key players. Matoma's out. Adringa, who's been really good from the seasons away at the AFCON. Danny Welbeck only plays really good once every 4 games. But do you know what I mean? It's what do Brighton fans expect, really? They're sitting 7th. They're undefeated in the last 4 games after last night. They're not doing bad. They're still in Europe. But yeah, I'm with John. I expected a Brighton win last night. They'll definitely view it as 2 points dropped, but I wouldn't be worried about them anytime soon.
To be fair to Brighton, I don't think they do. I don't think they expect a lot more than that. I think the majority of them are probably realising, especially last season, they were playing above the what was expected of them, and probably just enjoying it. So, and they're probably just enjoying the European adventure as well. I think they'll be okay. And like we say, we're saying West Ham are having all these issues with fans expecting more. They're only 3 points off West Ham.
Yeah.
So there's not much between them.
Nice. Yeah, maybe been a little bit harsh there on Brighton, but I just when I've watched them, I've just not been. I think I was really impressed with
It's because you expected them to win. It just seems deflated that it didn't happen. That's
Yeah, you're right. But Jamie, let's come on to the fun part then of the show, and I do love a transfer window.
Everton. Oh, okay.
Well, listen, it comes in nicely.
Yeah.
I think last January was the record, wasn't it, for spending in the Premier League in January. And this year has got to be the complete opposite and be the record for no one spending. We haven't seen a lot of deals happening, especially for money. Obviously, financial fair play's got a big saying on that. Everton, could be getting more points deducted. Same with Nottingham Forest. So it's becoming a real problem for clubs. But yeah, what's your thoughts on the window so far and financial fair play as a whole?
On a personal point, I knew Liverpool weren't going to do any deals. The amount of changes we made in the midfield, I would be the first to say we're still either a defender or a midfielder away from being a proper big outfit. But you don't buy 3 midfielders and then buy a fourth in the winter window. So I was never looking at it from a Liverpool point of view. But what you just said from the league point of view, I'm kind of shocked, but I'm not shocked. I'm shocked that everybody's kind of fear of falling foul of financial fair play, but it all goes back to those 10 points that Everton got docked. The moment the Premier League stopped helping teams by, giving them dispensation where they could spread the issues that they had, it was always going to go on the back burner for a lot of teams. And I think it's going to go into the summer as well. I think Everton are, shall we say, they are the perfect example of probably not how to do it. And what I mean by that, not to harp on about them, but they've been found guilty and given a 10-point deduction. That naturally goes into the next season, and the next season they continue that trend. They're now facing a further punishment, and the projection from some of the top people is that based on their current finances, they're going to fall foul next year as well. So, because it's a 3-year cycle, you can lose 105 million over a 3-year window. 2 years ago, they lost the best part of 80 million. That's why they went over, because of the other years. The last year, they lost 25 million. So they're over for the first 2 years. So basically what they're saying is they can't lose a single penny this season, which is just not going to happen. So you're facing 3 seasons worth of issues. Nottingham Forest have found themselves to be in a similar situation, and I think it's got a lot of teams scared. Newcastle being the perfect example. Newcastle want to come in and do the right thing, but they have the funds. They have the funds where they could go and blitz. They could spend 105 million now in this window and go, right, we'll figure it out over the next 2 seasons. If they qualify for the Champions League or something, they can obviously claw that back in. But they're just not doing it. They're talking about selling. We'll come to the transfer rumours, but they're talking about selling because it's probably got them worried. City haven't spent anything. Do you know what I mean? City are quite obvious. They've got not areas that they want to improve, but they've got an aging squad in certain places that you think they want some of the young up and coming people to come through. City look as though they're going to be using the youth team players this season because they don't want to do the same thing. So I think it's got a lot of teams scared, and if I'm honest, it's probably a long time coming, because how some of these teams can spend so much in a January window seems absolutely crazy.
Johnny, that end point of Jamie, I've said that for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. It's coming. And obviously, a little bit different for me and you seeing it, supporting 2 Scottish clubs and seeing teams like Bournemouth being able to spend 50 million last January and thinking, how are they doing this? I think everyone's got their own opinions on financial fair play and how it's been brought in. I do sort of agree there with Jamie in terms of Newcastle. They want to do it the right way, but they've got the money there to spend. Obviously, we've seen Chelsea do that years beyond, City do that. Newcastle now can't go and do that. And I do think it's going to be hard for anyone to go and break that top, like your cities, because your financial fair play is going to keep sort of pulling you back. But what's your thoughts on there, what Jamie said, and sort of financial fair play, and it's just been strange this window to not have hardly any movement.
I honestly think with financial fair play, for too long, it was a laughing stock. It was a shambles. It was easy to work around. Whether it was fiddling the books, fluffing transfers, whatever you want to call it, there was a hell of a lot of teams guilty. And a lot of the teams that are quiet and going under the radar, they'll have the same worries as well, because I think they were all at it. Some worse than others, 100% yes. Now we're starting to see teams slowly but surely finally getting picked up. Let's not forget how far these charges for Man City go back. We're not talking a few months, we're talking years. It's a long way. And for what I've been reading, that as serious as their case is, there's so many of them, and it's so difficult to prove, and it's scattered over so many charges. We're talking that it's going to be like something like 2025 before anything comes in. So they could still control and boss the league until that point, and then get hammered. But again, for what I've read, it sounds like they should. With Newcastle, I would agree. It must be frustrating for them, because like Jamie's just touched on, and yourself, they're one of these teams with an endless pot of gold. If that financial fair play wasn't there, they could literally sign anybody they want and do it all in one window, which is unreal. But obviously with financial fair play, they can't. And they're looking to sell, which is a bit weird. I thought they were pretty solid with financial fair play. They haven't spent hugely since they've come in. But then they don't really sell a lot. There's not really many that jump out at me where they've made fortunes in signings. They don't have homegrown players that they can sell on, and they get a wee bonus for that with financial fair play. They don't have that. So maybe it's that. Because the Almiron one, not so much Trippier, I think there's more to that one, but the Almiron one reeks fluff in the books. The Saudi, that's what it is. Chelsea have done it as well. They can say what they want with all these Saudi transfers. They've fluffed the books massively, and it probably, but if it bites them on the arse, then so be it. It's very much a case of you reap what you sow. So yeah, I think a lot has to do with that, and that's why we're seeing very, very few transfers. I think we'll all see something. I'll be honest with you. I still think somebody's going to chuck in.
I think it's going to be loads of loan deals. Yeah, I think it's going to be loads of loan deals that are going to go in.
I still think there'll be a big transfer or two. I really do. As to whom or where, I don't know, but it's like they can't help themselves.
This is probably the first time that you can actually say that financial fair play is actually working.
Yeah,
because it's deterring people from spending money. When was
I
the
think
first time?
Everton was a catalyst.
Yeah, 100%.
They've seen. Look, I mean, theirs was obviously during the COVID season and stuff, but they tried to get away with it. They never, and now it's coming back again. But yeah, that's a warning to say, look, we're not messing about here. If you've done it, we might not get you now. It might take years, but we are coming. So absolutely, that must be hanging over their head. But then you say, well, is it a good thing? Then, I mean, that's why it's there. So, but like you say, the whole Bournemouth thing as well, that still eats away at me, ever since you mentioned it. 50 million spent. And here's my team taking 14 loan deals for guys for Bognor Regis. What's going on?
I know. I feel exactly the same. Exactly the same. But just on the financial fair play, we had a decent discussion myself with my mates the other day, talking about financial fair play, and I have Toney, and I know we've touched on him already tonight, but see if Brentford are realistically asking for 70, 80 million, right? And that's what you read in the press. I think he could do a job at all the top teams. I don't know if he gets in. I know he doesn't get in City's team instead of Haaland. I think I'd probably rather Nunes as well. I know some people would.
I would agree.
So I'll take them two away. But Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, they could all do with Ivan Toney. But I think the question I want to ask both of you is: can you see these teams spending 70, 80 million on a 28-year-old with financial fair play biting the arse. Because you said there, Johnny, you've seen Chelsea riddle it a little bit with giving out 7 and 8 year contracts. You can't do that to Ivan Toney. He's not at the age where what value you're going to be getting, for that. Jamie,
I think this window, absolutely not. No, I just don't see it. I really don't. I don't think Brentford, Brentford hold all the cards here. I think if I'm right in thinking, come the summer though, he's got a year left on his contract. So, again, I don't see that being the deal. If I'm honest, I don't see Liverpool going for him. He's a Liverpool fan. He's a Liverpool boy at heart. I don't see Liverpool going for him. He was a Newcastle youngster, and they've already got people like Isak, so I don't see them Newcastle going for him. I just don't think he's a Man U type of player. I really don't. Chelsea would be intriguing, but I mean, yeah, that they would absolutely rinse them for about 150 million if it was Chelsea. If I'm honest, I think he will go to Arsenal, but I don't think it'll be like an 80 million fee. I wouldn't be surprised if they got creative and done something like 60 million plus Nketiah. Like another trading. The one worry I would have for Arsenal, and I kind of got into this debate with somebody on Twitter. So it was an Arsenal fan. He was trying to give me big style. Arsenal begged Brentford for their keeper on loan to get around financial fair play. They can't just then muster up 60, 70 million a season later when they've already purchased people like Havertz and Declan Rice.
Yeah.
So they are going to have to get creative, and don't forget they've still to pay the Brentford money because it was a loan with a purchase of about 35 million. I think it was reported.
Yeah.
So they've already got to give Brentford 35 million. So again, could it be Arsenal? I don't know. Honestly, I think it's a weird one. 28 is a bit. I'm not going to say past it because that's unfair. I think 28 is at the higher end, especially when Harry Kane is 31 and went for 100 million, but two total different class of players. I think just Brentford hold all the cards. I wouldn't be surprised if Brentford just held on to him, but I wouldn't, until his contract runs out and see what they do, see if they get creative with their own transfers. But again, I think there's some gentleman's agreement in there that, whilst he was on his ban, that there was probably some deal struck that, if a certain bid come in for him of a certain team, then, they would allow certain things to happen, if you like. As I said, I don't see the big six. I think it's going to take a big punt from anybody to get him, to be fair.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't give you a good enough answer. I'm sorry.
No, there's a lot with this one, isn't there? That's why I asked it. Johnny, what's your thoughts?
If Ivan Toney is at the higher end at 28, Mo Salah must be ready for his pension. Anyway,
400 mil.
The player he sell me, I think, and looking at the let's just say top half of the table, that it's the kind of player that Arsenal and Chelsea are screaming out for.
Yeah.
And just in terms of caliber and what he can do, 100% that it would be ideal for both of them. But will it happen? No, I don't think so either. Like you said, Chelsea have kind of worked around with the long contracts. That they can't do that. It nullifies that. They could do a loan deal and just say, you give us Toney and we'll give you 27 players off our books. Like
Brozier,
2% of the squad. Like you say, I think financial fair play would scupper them as well. I mean, they keep claiming that they've got the books balanced, but they have to have the best accountants in the world. So yeah, I don't think that happens, and I think you could put Arsenal in the same bracket with that as well. The money they've spent, they've not really brought much in. I think that would be a big ask for them too. But with the fee they're asking, I mean, he's only got a year. It's only a year in his contract, or just over.
Yeah, just over at the moment. It's a year come the end of the season.
70 million, 28. Like you say, a good season in the Premier League. Not this season though, because he's not played much. But it could. Will it happen? No, I would like to see it happen. I'd love to see him go to Chelsea, but I don't see that happening.
No, I don't think it's in there. The way that they're going and recruiting at the minute, I don't think. I know it has been scattergun, but it's been a lot younger than 28. There's a couple more gents I want to quickly get through. Johnny, I'll start with you on this one. Spurs done their business really early. Obviously, the signing of Werner on loan with an option to buy, and excuse my, is it Dragovic? Sorry, Dragoson. Another centre half, which they needed as well, for obviously for a decent fee, but not as big as what we've seen in sort of the summer. What's your thoughts on these ones? I think that obviously seeing Celtic last season and watching Spurs this season, I actually think Werner suits them really well. See a lot of, I see him. I think someone made a good point about Maeda that plays for Celtic, and he plays that selfless role. I don't think I'm not comparing to Tim Werner, by the way, but technically he's not great, but he does not stop, and it suits the style. I can see Werner playing in that sort of similar role, but I do think they've done some decent business there, and I think they did sort of need
to. I mean, yeah, I think the defensive patch-up is needed. The cover was pretty much Eric Dyer, who's obviously now away. So I don't know what they paid. I think it was maybe 25 million, something like that. It's probably euros. But they did need that addition. With Timo Werner, I like Timo Werner as a player. Seen a lot of him in the Bundesliga before he went to Chelsea, and he was dynamite, absolute dynamite. When he came to Chelsea, he was in a broken system. I think it's quite hard, a bit unfair probably to be too harsh on him. But he is a bit scattergun. He is awfully, I don't know what I'm looking for, clumsy, I suppose, a bit rash in terms of his chances, his shooting, and his delivery. It can be either excellent or terrible. When I thought when he was at Chelsea, my kind of opinion on it was his head went down and he was just shattered confidence-wise. But to come back into the Premier League, I just feel like you're putting that pressure straight back on. Yeah, I don't think you dealt with it when you were at Chelsea. Is he going to deal with it when he's at Spurs? I mean, I've said it a few times about Ange, that I do think he's a good manager. I think if anybody can claw a player out of him, it's him. And I do think that player's there, but can he do it? I don't know. He still looked a bit the same. I see him in the first game. Still kind of the same vibe from him. That doesn't mean that can't change. It could be a good signing, mate. There is potential in it. Definitely potential in it. I would be gutted to see him do well. It's just a shame it would be at Spurs.
Yeah. I would say I think that's a good bit of business. Jamie, thoughts on Spurs? Couple of signings there?
I think Spurs is probably the most ideal team for him. Apart from outside of Liverpool, what I mean is like that front three plays on the left wing of that and it has the ability to cut in and hit the byline. I'm like Johnny. I watched Timo Werner quite a lot when he was at Leipzig. He was breaking defenses all on his own, and that was before Nkunku got there. And then everybody's got something good to say about Nkunku, but I think Timo Werner was probably the first person to do it out of them. Chelsea break most of the players that go to them, unfortunately, and they play them out of position. They play them, they don't give them enough chances. So he did kind of flop at Chelsea, but he still gets in the goals. I think if you look at his opening game, I think they scored. What did he score? Did he score four goals? And I think he assisted one of them. So he's still in about it. I think Ange is the perfect kind of manager he needs. I think Tottenham is probably the right kind of team he needs to play in, and because they play with an out-and-out striker and the two wingers on either side. The only thing I'd be wanting to understand is, once Son's back, is he back on the bench, or does he get does he get the number 9 role, for example? Because surely you don't put Son in the middle. Son's going on the left wing. That's his strongest position. So it'll be interesting to see with that. For the money that they've paid, 15 million, I think that's a good deal, especially in today's market. I don't think his wages will be too crazy. I think he's probably about 150 grand a week. I think his fee's decent. I can see him being there for 2 or 3 years, and they'll get a tune out of him. I think it's a smart move for them. The Dragerson lads, I don't know much about him from what I've understood, from what I've read. He's an up and coming young defender. He's tall. He's all about the school of hard knocks, if you like, from a defensive point of view. He's not very like Van de Veen, where the silky play out. He's very Romero, in terms of like he's all about the challenge first. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets a start or if he's just cover. So far, so good. I think two decent signings for them.
Sorry, I didn't set myself on mute there. I absolutely agree with that. And I think you summed that up well. All right, just a couple more then gents. Johnnie, Newcastle, they obviously, we mentioned it earlier with financial fair play there. It's been well documented that they want to bring in a midfielder, but they've got to sell before they do that. Trippier to Bayern Munich's come out of nowhere sort of the last couple of days. Apparently Trippier's really wants to go. I don't think Newcastle want to sell him, but I think that's one that I think he's 32. Trippier, I think that one that will go through. And obviously the surprise for me was Almiron to Saudi. Now I don't want to go down the route of Saudi buying yet another Newcastle player, and I feel like it's just money getting shifted to
the reported 60 mils a bit iffy the winter.
It's dodgy as anything, mate. I want that to get looked into. But I'm just surprised that they're letting Almiron go, to be honest, because again, if it is 50-60 million, maybe I'll just start smelling question. But to lose him in January, I think that would be a blow for him, because he has been really good since Howell's gone in there.
I think if you do float that 60 million tag when it comes to anything close to that, I think you've answered your own question. Yeah. That it's it is shady, and there's not much I can say about it, because, like I say, Chelsea's done the same thing. Actually, there was a Premier League vote on that recently, and they voted against it to ban that move, which really surprised me.
It was because it wasn't just on the Saudi; it was about all the other companies. So, for example, if you think of City, they've got Girona. You've got Bournemouth are owned by, I think they've got ties to other couplers as well. So it's all about the ownership. It's not just about the Saudi. Yeah,
well, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander then. But yeah, the Almiron one, it is a bit surprising, mate. He is, I know he can be a bit erratic, but he is a big player for them. The Trippier one, without going into too much detail, I don't know, I didn't want to get cancelled. But anybody that's been part of any kind of group chat or been on Twitter or that will have seen all the gossip in that regarding Kieran Trippier. And it all came about the same time. He ended up dropped. He was left out of the squad. Now suddenly we're talking about a transfer. That's why I said earlier that it feels like there's something more to that.
He left the England squad, didn't he? He left the England squad. That was
definitely something. How much truthful in what we read, I don't know, but something definitely happened. And now we're talking about a move away. It's not even that big a fee. I know they only paid like 12 for him, but that was because Atletico wanted to get shot. He's huge for Newcastle. He has been off the last few weeks. He's made a lot of mistakes, but then I think he's had a lot on his mind. So I think that's a huge loss for them. So if you were to say potentially Almiron and Trippier in the same window, that's a head scratcher, absolutely. But I do think there's an underlying current with it. Definitely the latter, at least.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Jamie, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't really go against anything, obviously, what Johnny said, because I've seen some of the stuff, and I think just due to his personal life, he's probably just looking for something new. And let's face it, Bayern Munich's not exactly a slouchy team. However, it would be Champions League Cup tied, so I'm not sure, obviously, what that does to it. But the Almiron one, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Almiron's arguably one of the players to have turned his form around, before from how going in, probably right up there with Joe Lunton. He's probably one of the two success stories that Eddie Howe can look back on and go, that was because of what we did. The transfer itself, I mean, he's been at Newcastle for probably about 5 or 6 years, if not longer. So I don't necessarily have an issue with the transfer, but I mean, some of the fees that's reported, now it could be complete absolute BS, but I think Eddie Howe did say that they're looking to bring people in, but they've got to get creative. So I wouldn't be surprised, and this is me completely spitballing, I wouldn't be surprised if they took a sacrifice on somebody like Almiron and brought in a loan deal until the end of the season. And I say a loan deal, I'm just going to throw a name in there. I've not seen it linked, but probably the type of player. See the lad Jota that was at Celtic. There's talk he's not really settling down properly. He's a young lad. He's a lone player with a view to get into the Premier League. It sounds like that kind of a deal. You could probably label that against other people, but what I mean is that's probably how they're going to get creative with it. I think they've seen the news as well. They've lost Joe Linton for about 2 or 3 months. He had a successful surgery, so their numbers are dwindling big time. You know, you go back to the fact that they can't use Toney. There's been a lot made of the Bruno Guimaraes buyout clause, which is apparently setting at a triple figure. PSG apparently was sniffing about. I wouldn't be surprised again come the end of the season if he moved on, which enabled them to do whatever business that they want to do. But yeah, it would be a weird one to let him go, but at the same time, I can understand it for the Almiron one. Sorry.
And Jamie, just to come back to you on the last one, I want to get obviously both thoughts on this. Calvin Phillips looks set to join West Ham on loan with an option to buy. I think it's a good move from West Ham. I think
West Ham.
I think that they've not got loads of numbers in the midfield. I think if you ask West Ham fans, they'll be quite happy with the balance they've got. But if they do get an injury to Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, or Suter, they've got no one else to come in, and that's why I think he will go in there. Are you surprised? And then the other point is, a lot of West Ham fans are moaning at this, which I've been quite surprised about. Obviously, they want to get a forward in because we spoke about Paqueta being injured, Kudos out. Danny Ings leading the line at the moment. He looks finishing the Premier League. He looks done. But I still think that's a quality signing on loan till the end of the season. I think Calvin Phillips is a good player.
Yeah, and to be fair, he's probably a Moyes type of player. You know, a tackler, holds the line well. I suppose it's really who does it benefit more? Does it benefit West Ham more? I would argue Alvarez has been one of the better midfielders this season. I'm not going to put him in no team of the season, but he's been non-stop for them. I think he's been really good. And I think Ward-Prowse started the season on fire, but he's kind of slowed down a little bit. But he's not playing bad. So where does Phillips fit in? Does Phillips anchor them too? Or does he sit in front of them? Does he sit alongside them? It just seems, as you said, it's like another defensive player. West Ham fans are not asking for more defensive players; they're asking for more attacking players. Anybody looking at that team, I even said it. I said when we were talking about the game, I was worried for them because of their attacking talent that's gone. You know, they're not available to them at the moment. So I was surprised that they've brought Phillips in, but I do see him as a Moyes type of player. But you bring somebody like him in, and you see maybe Moyes recycling some of the other midfielders. But Ward-Prowse has done nothing wrong, and neither Alvarez. So, I'm not surprised that City didn't send him to a rival. You know, there was a lot of talk of some of the rivals. Don't think City were ever going to improve the rivals, really, were they? So, I would argue that West Ham is probably his level as well.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think he's a top 6 player. I think he probably would have been if he got that gig and he anchored himself at City. I mean, Rodri's different gravy, obviously, but he's not even impressed in the games that he's actually got on game time for. So yeah, I think Moyes will get a tune out of him, definitely. I just don't know if it's the right kind of deal for West Ham right at this moment.
Well, it's got a couple of things there. I think you're right in saying I think Phillips has got to go and prove himself again. He's had 18 months really without plans. He's got to go and prove himself again. But I think proof is in the pudding for West Ham, really, because they played and obviously got knocked out of the FA Cup by Bristol City when they had to make changes.
Yeah.
They got smashed, obviously, against Liverpool in the League Cup. They
Yeah.
make changes. They were really poor in Europe. They was already through when they had to make changes. Smashed at Fulham when they had to make changes. So I think it's a good move because I think it gives you another option. You can't keep
still six. They're still six.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
In the Europa League, they're going to have a lot of games. I kind of disagree. I totally agree they need a striker, and I think they will try and get one in. I think Phillips on loan to the end of the season just to help the numbers and get another quality player in. I think it's a good move. Johnny, what's your thoughts on this one?
I like it. I think the lad needs to be playing. I think he needs to find, I wouldn't say his level, but I suppose I do. I kind of agree with Jamie. I think West Ham would be a decent fit for him. And in terms of the West Ham point of view, they do need numbers. I do think they still need strengthening. We've seen it recently. We've had Alvarez injured. Paqueta's injured. We've got Ben Rama, who's supposed to be going. Fornals they really kicked his own ass. So I think they do need that wee bit of extra cover. And I can see him actually fitting in and possibly getting a place in that starting 11. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad signing at all, mate. Said he was going to have to go somewhere. He was never going to get moving at City. I mean, a bit like the lad Cole Palmer, and we see what he's done. So there is potential for him to go and get everything back on track. He looked good at Leeds. One of those players that does all the nonsense that nobody else wants to do, and he does it well. I think West Ham, I think they'll benefit from it. Yeah.
Do you know my only problem with him is that he went to City on the back of having a good tournament for England. He was arguably one of the better players for England in the tournament, and he was a decent enough player in Leeds. Leeds were, the chance to Leeds into, the hatchet bumps. They love a challenge, they love a yellow card, and I think Phillips fits into that. It's probably,
yeah, but
what is his level actually?
I think it's something Mason said at the start of the season that
there's no way you remember anything we've said at the beginning of the season.
No, mate. I do remember things. That's why I keep calling everybody out when they make a bad shout. I didn't call them out if they make a good one until now. But Mason actually pointed out, and he had said that 6 games, 10 games, having a dynamite run is enough to seal a transfer in the Premier League. You can apply that exactly to the Euros, to the World Cup, the exact same thing. Enzo Fernandez is a perfect example. That's all it needs. So you're probably right. It was off the back of that, but that's enough. That is enough to get it done. So I still think, I still think there's a player in there. I still think he'll do a job for West Ham. I think it's a good move.
Nice one, gents. Well, listen, just to wrap it up then, Johnny, I'll come to you first then. Just very quickly, what team needs to sign the most and in what position? Putting it on you both right at the end.
What team needs to sign the most and in what position? I'm going to say that needs to be for a title challenge. I'm going to make it simple and say Arsenal, and they need a striker.
I've got to agree with that. I'll make it easy as well. Jamie, what's your thoughts?
I'm not going to go with the trend and say Arsenal. I think Arsenal need more than just a striker. But I actually think Man United need signings. And they're getting found out quite a lot. All over the park. There seems to be a bit of displacement across the whole of the park that they've got. There's a lot of talk about Casemiro at the moment, Martial, Højlund. They kind of seem all over the place. If they're going to stick with Ten Hag, then they need to bring in more players. I know they're doing this. They're apparently doing this 30-day review. Of Ineos are going to do a 30-day review audit, if you like. But the transfer window will be done by then. So what does that mean for him? Does that mean he's stuck with the players he's got? If so, then they're going to find it hard to hold on to that 8th position that they're currently sitting in my opinion. So for Man United's sake, I think they need the most players in the right positions.
And make sure every one of them's Dutch.
Yeah. They've all played for Ajax at some point.
Yeah, good. To be fair, good answer there, Jamie. I'm glad you didn't go with me and Johnny. But Gents, that wraps us up then, just over the hour there. Good to be back on. Johnny, thanks for tonight, mate.
Really enjoyed it, mate. Excellent to be back. Thank you, gentlemen.
Top man. And Jamie, thanks as ever.
Good man, appreciate it. It's always good to dissect the football as we see it.
It is, gents, and we'll be back next week, which I'm right in saying, I've not even looked, to be fair, bad for me, but it's a full fixture list, right?
It's a full fixture list, but it's Tuesday to Thursday because we've got the FA Cup this weekend. So we're going to have to pick a time wisely, whether that would be on the Monday pre all the games going on or maybe the Friday after that. I don't know.
Bloody FA Cup. So yeah, might be a little bit longer then. But thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back soon. Take care.